All right. Welcome once again to another episode of Drink and Champagne. I am Josh at Cherry Drink and my co-host, Mr. Andrew Champagne. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm hanging in there, man. Just trying to get through the month of December. Very much appreciating the people out here in California who think anytime the temperature goes below 60, the sky is falling. I've still got some battle hardened New Yorker in me, but I have, however, already warned my dad that if he expects me to in any way shovel or move snow, should any fall, I'm retired. I wanted to make
Hmm.
sure I set expectations before I got there this weekend.
Yeah, we got the old sleet. We haven't gotten any
Oh,
real snow, but we
haven't
got
seen that in a little while.
some sleet this past week. So it's actually been raining quite a bit. So I know there were some kind of winter storm warnings and stuff, but they kind of missed us. I heard that there's some crazy weather in Louisiana. Caleb today, at some point, he said that he had a shelter in the conference room due to tornadoes out in
Well,
New
as you
Orleans.
pointed out, he must be okay because he was playing Turfway today. We're recording this, by the way, on Wednesday the 14th. So, Caleb, if you're still out there firing, we're just going to assume you're all right, buddy.
Oh man, someone asked, is Caleb okay? Has anyone checked on Caleb? Like and I'm just like, oh, he's playing Turfway, he's fine. Apparently, they let him go home early, and then he was just, being a degenerate at home while taking meetings. So, yeah, it's we're gonna, here in the Midwest, we got our snow, um we get some real bad days of weather. You're from upstate New York. You're used to bad weather. Although not now, you say like you said, you're a wimp now.
Not
Um,
necessarily a wimp. I'm just saying that I respect the snow a little bit more. And I know when I am outnumbered. So if there are millions of little snowflakes falling around that form a certain pattern in the driveway, I'm just going to leave that to other people to take care of it if that happens to occur while I am in the Empire State for a couple of days.
yeah, it's kind of funny. Like as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten, and not that I'm like that old, right? I'm 36, but uh, I'm driving. Like before driving in the rain, like I wouldn't even like think twice. I'm like, what? Like who cares? It's just rain, right? But now, as I've gotten older, like driving in the rain and even the snow, like I'm definitely much more careful and much less cavalier than I think I was in my younger days. But and so today I was driving, and I'm just like, it gets dark so early and it's raining. Like I don't know, it's just miserable driving. Driving in any kind of weather, and especially at night right now. But
See, I don't mind driving in rain. My problem is everyone else out here in California
mm,
driving in the rain. Anytime there's even a drizzle, it's like the sky is falling. It's literally the most maddening thing imaginable because, again, grew up driving in snow and sleet and freezing rain and all the fun stuff. Then you get out here in California, and the second anything falls from the sky, they have no idea what to do. And it's one of those things where you wish you could say, okay, do what I did, learn how to drive in the winter in upstate New York where snow's falling and there's black ice and a whole bunch of really treacherous stuff. You try to survive and come back to me. This isn't that bad.
yeah, what was really funny was when I was in Vegas. I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe one of the first couple trips I took to Vegas. Um, we're in an Uber and we're driving, and all of a sudden you see this car just come out of nowhere, like probably like 2, 3 lanes to the left of us, and just kind of shifts all the way over to get into some exit. And sure enough, California plates. And that was the first time. That was the first time I noticed. Noticed them, and I just go to my Uber driver. I'm like, so what they say about California drivers isn't just a myth, huh? It's a real thing. And he just starts laughing.
Yeah, we're pretty miserable. Can I tell you my Las Vegas Uber Lyft story before we launch into a preview of Saturday's late pick four at
Yeah,
Remington
go
Park?
for it.
Okay, so this was in the winter of 2019. It was a couple months before the pandemic. So it's November, it's our Thanksgiving trip. And my dad and I have tickets to go to a basketball tournament at the Orleans, which used to get some really, really good teams. They got Creighton this year. They got one of the Texases, either A&M or Tech, one of them. It was a good field. But we called a Lyft to come pick us up between Flamingo and Cromwell. Guy shows up. It's his first day. He picks us up. He starts driving. He forgot to hit one of the buttons on the Uber or Lyft interface that was like, okay, I'm here. And then it launches into the GPS. Well, the GPS wasn't working. And it's this guy's first day driving a car in Vegas. He has no idea where he's going and doesn't speak a word of English. I took 6 years of Spanish in middle and high school. Literally, I know 6 or 7 phrases. Okay. I know how to ask where the bathroom is. I know how to order a cheeseburger. And two of the other ones I know are derecha and izquierda, right and left in some order. And so, what I had to do to get us to where we needed to go, I didn't care about the Uber or Lyft thing, whatever. I wanted to get to Orleans, maybe play some blackjack before we wound up getting into the venue. All I had to, and I had to do all of this, okay? Get on my phone, Google Maps, and I'm reading this off, translating from English to Spanish as best I could. We got there. And when we got there, I remembered my father being not mad, but disappointed that I think I got an 80 my last quarter of college Spanish, my junior year of high school. I looked at him and I went, take all that back right now. To his credit, he did. But I will never let him forget that moment because, again, my Spanish it's minimal. It's not good. No bueno, Josh. No bueno. Um,
No bueno.
no,
Uh,
no.
that's basically kind of how Turfway went for both of us in the
Do we
pick
have the
four
Price
tonight.
is Right losing horn on your soundboard there?
Of course we do. It's right here.
Yeah, we both went 3 for 4. Now, plot twist here. As I've said, we're recording this on a Wednesday. We usually record on a Tuesday. I had a thing come up. My girlfriend had to go to urgent care. Thankfully, she's fine. She had an issue with her ankle or her foot or something, and that's getting mitigated. So we're all good there. Where we were able to call on Audible, Josh, I appreciate your flexibility. And I also appreciate the folks at Remington Park drawing early for their big Saturday program. It's closing night at Remington. A lot of stakes races on tap. The late pick four starting in race number 9 is of the all stakes variety, and it ends with the Springboard Mile, a race that's got some Kentucky Derby points on the line, as well as a pretty hefty purse, Josh. I believe it's $400,000. A lot of money up for grabs in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm surprised it still doesn't have a graded status, but
That's got to be the next step because some good horses have won that race. A couple of years ago, Senor Buscador won it, and he's turned into a graded stakes type horse. He won the ACAC this year.
yep. But yeah, let's start here. Race 9. We're gonna take a look at the late pick four here, which kind of gets out of the. I mean, do they even have a late pick 5 here? They
They
do,
do. It starts
but
in race number 8. Race
it
number
starts
8,
with a
another
state
stakes
bred.
race, and that's the one named after Jim Thorpe.
Yep. But we're gonna take a look at the open company here. We're gonna be going late pick 4 here. So race 9, going to mile, the trapeze stakes for fillies 2-year-olds. Um, and we got a good field here. I think we have 8 horses in this race. I was pretty narrow here. I took an A and I took a B in this race. My lone A is going to be the 8. Do you want to dance? Oh,
Yeah,
do
do
you
you
want to
want to
dance?
dance? Yes.
I was like, I looked at this and I was like trying to figure out the name of the damn horse. But
So
yeah,
we know
do
Josh
you
is
want to
not a
dance?
racetrack announcer. We know this now.
I absolutely am not, and I've told this numerous times. Like, I I will watch a race. I'll handicap an entire sequence, and I'll remember the numbers, but I will not remember the horses' names. So like, if I'm like listening to a race and not watching it, I have no clue. The announcer could be painting the most beautiful picture, telling the names of all the horses. If he's not saying the 9 is coming down the middle of the track, I got no fucking clue who's coming down the middle of the track. So, and I mean, it's probably honestly, it's probably a detriment to me. Like if it's not on the paper, like I don't remember it. Like
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not good at remembering because I can't remember horse names in the 30 seconds to a minute after I look at the PPs and I'm watching the race. God only knows, like 2 months down the line, me trying to remember this horse that ran in a race I watched. But yeah, so the 8 here, do you want to dance here, is 3 for 3, all in state bred racing. So I don't know. Obviously, we're kind of capping this pretty early, so I don't know what kind of price I'm going to get on this horse.
Not much.
Brisnet has it as the prime power pick, so I'm guessing that this is going to be the heavy favorite here. I haven't looked at buyers. I'm guessing is this horse kind of tower on buyers
No,
or
it does not.
no?
Not on
Okay,
buyers. It's up there with the contenders, but the top horse based on buyers is actually number 3, Olivia Twist, who we'll get to.
gotcha. But yeah, so we've talked about 2-year-old racing a ton. I'm looking here at the Brisnet. I'm looking at these run styles. I'm looking at the Kieran speed points, and I see a lot of speed here. Um, but what I can say about do you want to dance? That last race at Remington Park got a late pace figure of 101. Was slow pace up front. So I don't think that this horse is necessarily needs the lead, although the horse has been fairly forwardly placed all three of its starts. All three of the starts have had pretty slow paces. So I think here with a little bit more pace in front, the horse will sit a little bit further back, but I think has enough of a late kick that I think that this horse is going to be very, very tough to beat in this spot. The other horse I did use was, I believe, the lone S in this race. And once again, I'm looking at run styles, and that's Demi here for Clinton Stewart and Jose Alvarez, getting Lasix for the first time. Won a nice race at Remington, broke its maiden first time out. Was very, very was came from far off the pace, was very slow out the gate. At first call was behind by 6 3/4 length and ended up winning by a length pretty easy. I love to see these horses that come closing. You see this driving. This horse was coming. Also, this horse was very, very wide. So I think with a better trip, I mean, this horse, respectable 72 on the Brisnet speed figure is probably about 10 points too slow here. But I think with the wide trip, if the horse can get a slightly better trip, and I think is going to also be helped by the pace scenario here. I think that the 6 Demis has definitely got a shot in here. Used as a B, but when you look at my ticket, this will probably be a very, very pressed ticket. So I think I'll have good coverage of this horse as well. So only 2 horses I'm going to use in this race. I'm going to use the 6 Demi as a B, and I'm going to use 8 Do You Want to Dance as my lone A.
So I'm going wide early in the first couple of legs, and then I'm going very, very narrow in each of the last 2. Do you want to dance has done nothing wrong to this point, 3 for 3. What concerns me a little bit is she's had perfect trips in all 3 starts. I liked her first time out. In the debut, it was a big field. The morning line was 12-1. I remember this race because I liked her a lot that night. She went off as the 2-1 favorite. They knew. They absolutely knew because she ran off the screen. Now you're seeing Briz speed figures of 80, 86, 83. On buyers, I'm seeing 66 for the debut, followed by 271s. They're good. On buyers, she's the second best horse in the field. The class jump is a little bit of a concern for me. She's going from facing Oklahoma breds to facing open company, and I don't think this is a bad group. Let's take a look at Olivia Twist for just a moment, because this is one of those horses that I do think is going to take a lot of money. I'm using this horse, Josh, but and on the off chance that she winds up being 3-5 or 4-5, I might wind up calling an audible and chucking her. That last out race, yes, she won by 15 lengths. That's a very, very, very big number. Look at the fractions. Look at the fact that she had a clear lead that day. 25 flat for the opening quarter, 49 and 2, 114 and 3, finishing in 140 and 3. That's not fast. That's pretty darn slow. And I think a bounce may well be in the offing here. Ran an 82 buyer that day after a 76 in the debut. As of now, I am using this horse. Watch the tote board. If you're playing to win, especially, I think this horse is going to wind up taking a little too much money based off of what her chances to win actually are. The other two horses that I'm using come out of the exact same race. Number 2, Bonnie View, and number 5, Faith Alone. Both come out of an optional claiming race in the mud going 7 furlongs. And I think both of them have the pedigree that says 2 turns, absolutely no problem. Specifically, Faith Alone by Liam's Map out of a Kitten's Joy mare. That's distance top and bottom. Love the fact that this horse has taken steps forward in each of the 3 starts. Think another step forward may well be in the offing. Has speed, doesn't necessarily need the lead in order to run well. I absolutely love that. If pressed to make a top pick, my top pick would be the 5, Faith Alone. For me, it's 2, 3, 5, 8, at least for right now. But again, watch the board if you're playing on Saturday night. And if you want to play an exacta box, maybe the play is you toss Olivia Twist and you bet that that one's going to bounce and you try to find the right combination for a little extra money.
Yeah, I think that this 8 looks really good. I know the class relief or the class
I
jump.
like the horse a little bit. I just don't think it lays over the field as much as maybe the Briz figures intend. It is a significant class jump when you're talking about Okie Breds to Open Company, especially given that these stakes races for Open Company on closing night at Remington, they came up pretty darn strong. This isn't one of those programs where they have to pay everybody to say nice things about the program and you wind up talking up races that aren't that good. These races are pretty darn good.
All right, let's move on to race 10 here, the She's All In Stakes for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. We got a nice full field, I think, here again of I think 10.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
10.
10. We got 10 horses here. Once again, we don't have morning lines. My guess is your morning line favorite's going to be Famed, and that is
The one.
the one horse. Looks to be just a standout on Prime Power. So once again, I'm just guessing here, but I'm guessing that that's going to be your favorite. You get the right connections here. Brad Cox, Flo Giroux come in here. This horse is shipping in from Churchill Downs, a nice optional claiming win there at Churchill. So I think that this horse is going to be is going to kind of be the one that takes all the money. I landed on a single in this race.
A single? You landed on a single
I got
here?
a single in
I
this
like
race.
the way you're thinking because that's zigging where everyone else is zagging.
I got a single in this race, and I'm going to be on brand here with the 3 Cherry horse. Right, we got the E, we got the 8s. I'm going to go with the speed. Who I think the speed of the speed is in this race, the 7 Haley's Melody. When I looked at this race, you really didn't have a true, I believe, need the lead type in this race. I think you had some very flexible run styles. Haley's Melody's only got one way to win this race, and that's on the front end, and she's going to have to go. And I think that pressing her into those tactics, I think is gonna work out very, very well for this horse because I just don't know who else is going to be able to keep up with this horse early. Now I do know that there are a couple other horses that have some have early speed as well, and might be just as fast as this horse, but this horse has only got one way to win this race, and that's to go. And if you look back at some of her back races, I mean, I'm looking back at, I know I'm going back to March here at Sam Houston, but that 108 early speed figure, 102 early 2 speed figure, I mean, that's absolutely smoking. So if we can get Gerardo Mora here to be aggressive and get this horse out and just go, on the horse that absolutely needs to go, I mean, look at all the ones. There's a lot of ones in this horse's PPs. So I'm just gonna single the seven here, Haley's Melody, and I'm gonna hope that she gets out in the front end and just keeps on going.
So I get the logic there. And using another set of speed figures, the Timeform US pace numbers have Haley's Melody as the fastest early horse in the race. They do not have her towering over her closest rival. According to Timeform, number 8 Sunday Flashback is a horse that's likely going to go early, and she's shown some sprinter speed. There's some other speed in this race too. I think number 10 Unburnt is likely to go early, and there's a couple of other horses that will certainly be stalking. I don't think Run Sloopy Run or Bossy Moment are going to be very far back. Family Time has some early speed as well. Famed can potentially go as well. She's got enough speed to establish position from the inside. Side note, I'd be very interested in knowing when the last time was that Godolphin ran a horse at Remington Park. It can't be that many. Um, I used your single, but I'm spreading. I'm going 5 deep, and this is a race where I don't think you're going to see an overly heavy favorite because there are some questions with regard to Famed as far as how far she wants to go. Her best running has come going 6.5, 6, 7 furlongs. They tried her going 2 turns a couple of times late last year and early this year. She was fourth in the Goldenrod, beaten 7.5 lengths by Dreamlith when that one was going very well. And then she was third at odds of 1-5 at Oaklawn, and we didn't see her again until June 18th when she came back in a loaded optional claiming race won by a nice horse named On the Ones and Twos. That day's runner-up, Tarabi, wound up winning a stakes race at Saratoga next time. I believe it was the Wilson Stakes, one of the first races run out of the chute. I remember that. I never remember why I went into the kitchen 5 minutes ago. It's the handicapper's curse. And if you're watching or listening, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. I'm using Famed. I'm using your single. I'm going to throw in a couple of others as well. Number 4, Family Time, seems to have come into form for trainer Federico Villafranco after a claim in the fall from Dale Romans, has won 2 in a row, including a race where she beat Haley's Melody last time out while stalking just off the pace. I think that's the trip Family Time winds up getting in this spot. Bossy Moment has some speed, and I just think the last race is a total throwout, not a turf horse. They tried something given the pedigree. It didn't work. Now this horse is back doing what it wants to do, going 2 turns on the dirt. Haley's Melody, I think you covered. And I want to talk about Unburnt for a minute. Horse number 10 in the program. When this horse was running for Carl Broberg, she was going very, very well. Comes back at Remington off of a layoff, wins by 3 3/4 lengths at 6-5, gets claimed. Jesse Oberlander, a very good trainer, hitting at 15% on the year, 17% on the meet, steps her up and runs her in an allowance race. She has trouble, for sure, is beaten 15 lengths by Family Time and Haley's Melody. Instead of dropping this horse back down the class ladder at the end of the meet, they run her here. I don't know what to make of that. All I know is if this horse wins at, say, 20, 25 to 1, and I don't have her on my ticket, when there are some indications that say they're not giving up on this horse, I'm going to be very upset. So I've got to throw that horse in. 1, 4, 6, 7, and 10 for me in race number 10. And as I've mentioned, I'm going wide to start because I'm going pretty narrow to finish in the late double starting in race number 11.
All right. Well, let's go move on to race number 11 here, the Jeffrey A. Hawk Memorial Stakes. For 3-year-olds and up, we're going a mile and 70 yards. You get the return of a nice horse in Caddo River. You get Rated R Superstar showing up here, and you got a number of other very, very nice horses in this spot. Andrew, I will let you take this one because I think we're landing on the same horse in here.
Scroll all the way down. And when I ask you to do that, I do so with all due respect to a field of very nice horses that, if you've been following Remington the last couple of seasons, you will recognize because they run in big races at Remington what seems like every single year. Number one dude has been around a long time. Hello Hot Rod's been around a while. East Side Cool has been around a long time. Rated R Superstar is 9. Okay. There's a lot of respect for a lot of these horses. And you could make a case for a lot of them up until you get through number 8 Paluxy and you see number 9 Caddo River. And at that point, it becomes a situation where you need to make a choice. If Caddo River doesn't win this race, Josh, I don't know who does. That is not to say Caddo River is a cinch, but it's Caddo River up here and then the rest of the field all here. And there's 4 or 5 horses that could step up and win this if Caddo River doesn't fire. Given the workouts, I'm betting Caddo River fires. And if that's the case, I'm going to be pretty happy. This is a horse that got very good again over the spring and summer months, won 2 in a row at Oaklawn, then went to Churchill and recorded a 100 Beyer speed figure, winning a race by 4.5 lengths that had a pretty nice field. Endorsed ran second. That's another veteran that's been around for a while. This horse was so impressive that next time out, they ran in the grade 2 Stephen Foster, and this horse was 9-2. Now, this one showed some early speed that day, folded. Josh, this one ran without Lasix that day. I think it's safe to assume, given the way this horse ran, that he needs Lasix in order to run at his best. Gee, it's a pretty darn good thing Oklahoma allows stakes horses to run on Lasix, at least in this particular instance. If Caddo River runs back to the races that he ran, 2 back, 3 back, and 4 back, with all due respect to the rest of the field, which is pretty darn accomplished for the level, everyone else is running for second. That's a single for me. Best bet of the sequence.
Yeah, I kind of disagree on one thing you said, where you said if Caddo River doesn't win this race, you don't know who. I did use a B in this race. I have Caddo River as a lone A. My lone B is the aforementioned 9-year-old you mentioned, rated R Superstar here. Showing back up is 2-1-0 in 3 starts at Remington Park. Has ran some of his best races here at Remington Park. Including a win in the Governor's Cup earlier this meet in August. The horse likes the surface, has run over the surface. On Brisnet is competitive with Caddo River here, who's a lone A, and the only way I see Caddo River losing this race is if all the speed goes and Caddo River gets ridden aggressively and burns himself out. That's going to leave Radar Superstar to pick up the pieces here coming from off. So that's kind of my thinking on why I would use as a B. But those are going to be I think those are the only 2 horses that can win this race.
Okay, as a tried and true fan of affairs related to the squared circle, Josh, do you know what inspired the name Rated R Superstar?
Yeah, that's oh my God, is Edge, right?
On this day, you see clearly. Yes. We need to get that song. And honestly, you can tell that some announcers know where that came from, and that's all I'm going to say on the subject.
I don't know if you heard today at Turfway, Verstappen won a race, and the announcer, I think he's the guy from Finger Lakes, is filling
Tony
in.
Kalo, a former Bay Area guy, he called races out here at Bay Meadows.
Yeah, so he was he's like, oh, is Verstappen, Red Bull gives you wings or something. He said something along those lines, and I was like, I'm sure there were a couple of confused people wondering what Red Bull has anything to do with him, but obviously talking about the Formula One champion from this past year for the Red Bull team, Max Verstappen, who is obviously the namesake, or maybe his dad. Maybe they're a huge fan of his dad. I believe his dad was also a.
There are multiple Verstappens out there,
Yeah.
but Verstappen didn't stop on this particular occasion.
Did not. Yeah. So that leaves us with the big race of the meet at Remington Park, a very productive race, I think, as of late. The Springboard Mile here, we going 1 mile here, $400,000, and your 9 to 5 favorite is going to be Echo again. And Andrew, I believe on Twitter you had kind of chimed in a little bit about why is this horse here?
I wasn't going to bring up this story because it's going to be pouring salt in a wound. Josh, this horse debuted when you were supposed to be at Saratoga.
Hmm.
Um, that happened, and he was renowned as the latest fastest horse in the world, given some of his workouts. And the day before this horse was supposed to run, my dad and I are up in the clubhouse at Saratoga. We grabbed a bench near one of the escalators. It was a highly coveted bench that people tried to steal several times on Alabama Day. Not okay, by the way. Just saying, if there's something on a bench, it's taken. Don't try. Just don't do it. It's horrible etiquette. The day before Echo Again's debut, Steve Asmussen is walking through. And he's actually being incredibly personable, saying hi to people. I barely know the guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times. And I said, Echo Again running tomorrow, huh? And he tried to keep moving, but you could see his face light up like a Christmas tree. Sometimes this was bet like a they knew horse. And all he did was win by nearly 7 lengths with a 99 Briz figure, a 94 buyer number, and that day's third place finish, your expected value, came right back to win at second asking. This looked like a legitimate star prospect for Steve Asmussen. And another guy that was there on that particular occasion was Scott Shapiro, who I had met earlier that day. And I saw him walking around and again, and I said, hey, there's the favorite for the Iroquois. Just, playing racing manager, right? I had no idea where Asmussen was going to send this horse. But Shapiro lights up, he nods, and sure enough, this horse shows up in the Iroquois, and he's 3-5. And all of a sudden, I look like an idiot savant. Well, then they run the race, and I just look like an idiot because Echo Again lost interest going into that second turn. He ran like a horse who made the lead going down the backstretch, then got to the second turn and said, wait, I've got to keep doing this? What's going on here? And lost interest. Now, as a young horse in start number 2, you can forgive a bounce. It's interesting that he shows up here, but at the same time, it's a $400,000 race. It's not like the Springboard is an overnight $75,000 race that Steve Asmussen's eyeing as a prep for something. It's a $400,000 race. And last I checked, the winner's purse of a $400,000 race at 60%, let me do some quick math here, $240,000. That'll work. I'm not as concerned as a couple of other people that I like and respect very much, especially given the work tab. I love this Steve Asmussen work tab. The work 2-back, very, very fast. 5 furlongs in a minute and 1 at Fairgrounds, fastest of 24 at the distance. And then that maintenance work 7 days later. Absolutely love it. To me, that indicates Steve Asmussen has Echo Again right where he wants him. Now, with all that being said, I don't think he's a single solely because are we sure he wants to go 2 turns? It's a mile, not a mile and a 16th or a mile and an eighth. So he may not want to go 2 turns and still be talented enough to win. But there's another horse in here that I think you need to consider that's absolutely bred in the purple and has every right to be a very good horse. And that's number 5, Giant Mischief, who rallied from off the pace to win the debut at Indiana Grand or Horseshoe Indianapolis, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure Rachel McLaughlin will find some way to yell at me for how I just referenced her home track, in which case I will respond with wrestling gifs until she taps out, because that's just the way I do things. Hi, Rachel. How you doing? Happy holidays. Hope all is well. It's the race last time out, though, that I think merits another look. Giant Mischief beat a very talented Bob Baffert runner named Arabian Lion, who did have some trouble But look at how far those two were ahead of the third place finisher that day, Josh. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, the On the Rung Lead YouTube channel, you can see this. If not, like, comment, and subscribe when you go there. You will see Josh highlighting 17 lengths between the top two finishers and that day's third place horse. Those two horses were much, much, much better than anything else that lined up that day. 7 furlongs in 122 and 1. Giant Mischief, bred to be a good one. Buy into Mischief out of a very nice runner named Vertical Oak, who I cashed a couple of tickets on during her 3-year-old season when she won a couple of graded stakes races. The pedigree does say that maybe this one wants to go a little shorter, but going 7 furlongs at second asking is not easy. The 7 furlongs to a mile stretch out makes sense. And I think this one is one you're going to want to watch as well. 1 and 5 for me to finish out what's a $20 ticket. I respect Echo again. I would not be surprised if he fulfills the promise that he showed in the debut, but I think ignoring Giant Mischief is a giant mistake.
Giant Mischief is a giant single.
There we go.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss Echo again because I think if this is going to pay anything, like you're going to have to leverage up. You know, I obviously there's a couple of short prices here that I'm going to be leveraging. So if I'm going to try and make money here, like I can't be going wide, I can't be using multiple horses, and I'm going to have to leverage up. And so Echo again, I'm going to go ahead and just assume that this is a sprinter. Hey, last time, like you said, went that second turn and just lost interest. And that Giant Mischief just ran his absolute eyeballs out in that race. I believe it was that the Friday of Breeders' Cup
It
Friday.
sounds right. Yeah.
So yeah, I just this is once again I'm looking at the pace setup here, and I see a lot of these E's. I see a lot of 6s. I see a lot of 8s. So I'm going to take Giant Mischief as the horse coming from off the pace here to kind of pick up the pieces and win this race. I think in the book is 3-1. I mean, I'm guessing that it's going to be closer to maybe 2-1. Echo again will be closer to 6-5, if not odds on. Might be probably will take a lot more money just because of Steve Asmussen runs his horses all the time at Remington. So just it's a name that any kind of local money will be familiar with. So I actually don't know how much local money there is at Remington, but yeah, I just think the name recognition of this horse, I think this is going to take a lot more money. But I think it's going to basically be these two that take money. I'm gonna go ahead, plug my nose, and single Giant Mischief, and have a very, very skinny ticket coming into this race.
Can I throw a crazy horse at you for underneath if you're playing exactas and trifectas?
Sure.
By your own standing, you're thinking that this race, I don't want to say falls apart, but that closers have a pretty big shot.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with number 4, Little Sweet Thing, who has a win going 2 turns on this track, coming from off the pace over a couple of other horses that also show up in this spot? I understand from a speed figure standpoint, he's got to move up, but he's got to win going 2 turns. I'm looking at this field. Only a couple of other horses can say that, and we know he can rate and pass other horses late. If I'm playing exactas, this one is absolutely on my tickets at a pretty gigantic number.
I like it. Yeah, let me go ahead and put up our tickets here. So Andrew, you got a $20 ticket here. You got 2, 3, 5, 8 with 1, 4, 6, 7, 10 with 9 with 1, 5 here. That works out to $20 for 50 cents.
Yep, wide early, narrow late. Understanding that Cattle River is probably going to be favored, though I don't think he's going to be a prohibitively short price just because of all the horses that have local form. I think you're going to get above even money on Cattle River for sure. And if I can parlay this ticket into something that, we catch a couple of mid prices in the first and second legs, all of a sudden, maybe I'm live to the top two choices in the Springboard mile for something like $100. And I've turned Cattle River from, say, 7-5, 3-2, thereabouts, into 4 or 5-1. That's not bad.
I've gone much more narrow. I'm 2 by 1 by 2 by 1, so 6-8 with 7, with 5-9 with 5. So that's going to be kind of my quote unquote spread ticket, or my AB ticket here, and then I'm going to press the 8-7-9-5 straight pick 4 here, and play it for $10. Play the other one for like $5, and hey, let's see if we can get the straight pick 4 here, and get 20-1, instead of 4-1, or whatever you were looking at. But
Yep. And that also includes the late pick 3 and the late double opportunities to spread on tight tickets there. Not spread on tight tickets, but fire on tight tickets.
yep. So yeah, I don't know. It was a fun little card to look at.
There's
I
nothing
had
little about it. 12 races and a pretty early post time by Remington standards. Usually they run pretty late at night on Central Time, 5 o'clock Central for first post on Saturday at Remington Park. That's 6 o'clock for those of you on the East Coast, 3 o'clock for those of you on the West Coast. Any other time zones, my math is shoddy.
Yeah, I will be making tamales this weekend. So with my entire family. But that means hopefully my brother will be there. If he makes it, I know I can always talk him into some degeneracy. So we'll probably be looking at TVG and while making tamales. So
Yeah, my dad and I are going to be looking at Remington Park in the midst of a family dinner / a drive through roads in upstate New York that will likely be recovering from some snow. So that could be pretty entertaining, I'm sure. And if you want to follow along with the exploits, hijinks, and shenanigans, at Andrew Champagne on Twitter.
Yep. And then I'm at Cherry Drank on Twitter. Obviously, you can catch our stuff at onthewronglead.com. We'll be live tomorrow night, or
Before you
tonight.
sign off, I don't know if you're closing here, but I've actually got a cheap plug because
Go for it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
me
yeah,
and I cheap plug myself all the time, as you yourself have called me out on Twitter for.
yeah.
I believe the words you used were carnival barker.
Carnival Barker, exactly.
Okay, so friend of mine is Craig Braddock. He's the track announcer for the California Fair Circuit, and he also does a lot of work over at Turf Paradise. Well, he was looking for people to provide some picks for the simulcast feed. If you watch their feed, they'll have a different person of various renown from Twitter or social media or from the horse racing sphere, and they'll have those as guest handicappers. Well, my day is coming up tomorrow. That's Thursday, December 15th. My picks have already been sent in. It is a 9-race card. First 2 races are quarter horse races. So, that's handicapping without a net for me. I usually don't particularly enjoy handicapping quarters, but a couple of horses that I like there. I've got one horse that I do want to throw out there as just a little bit of a tip, and it comes in race number 3 on Thursday at Turf Paradise. 12:58 Mountain Time is the post time for this particular race. It's a 1-mile race on the turf course, a maiden optional claiming race, and there's a first-time starter that I think is very well meant. That's number 4, Una Palabra, who debuts for Van Belvoir, a pretty familiar name if you follow Southern California racing. He runs a lot of horses at Turf Paradise during the course of their meet. Una Palabra is out of a mare named One For You. One For You has thrown 9 winners, including a stakes winner and a stakes placed horse. And I don't think this one has to be a whole heck of a lot in order to beat this field. There are a couple of horses coming in out of the same race on November 25th, my birthday, that ran 2-3 in that race. I don't think that race was any great shakes. Una Palabra is the third choice on the morning line at 3-1. I think she's going to drift up. And if she does, I think she's an overlay. Horse number 4, race number 3 at Turf Paradise. If you're playing and you see my name on the screen, that's why.
One word.
Yeah.
Una
Yeah.
palabra.
I don't know a lot of Spanish. We've talked about this.
But yeah, that'll be fun. I'll see if I'm able to check that out tomorrow or today. Yeah, well, tomorrow from when we're recording,
Yeah.
today when this probably goes up. So and then like I said, we'll be streaming our contest, bankroll building in bourbon. Right now, I think Mark is sitting at around three
Well,
hundred
he got to
bucks.
play Delta last week, right?
Yeah, we
That's an
folded.
asterisk. Throw an
It
asterisk
is. We're
right
gonna
up
throw an
there.
asterisk on it again. I know. And I'm sitting I think at like 115. Caleb is rebuying for the third week in a row. So yeah, it's getting heated. And I know Mark has already like messaged me, trying to figure out like if he can bet all of it in one go. And I told him, yeah, go for it, man. You want to try and just bet 300 to win and a 3 to 1. I am more than happy to watch you lose that bet.
In the words
Um,
of Mills Lane, I'll allow it.
yep. So, but yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Take it easy, everybody.